Hello everyone. This is going to be about a 4-part series on earth grids and the dynamics involved. I say about because I may be adding more later. If other grids that are important come into view, I may, add to the list. But right now, that's what it's going to be. And this one is about the fire gem matrix, the maiden grid, and the phi gate. And to some degree about a part of the, has to do with the royal point of the planet, which is extremely important. But we're going to begin with the raw star. This is what Thoth calls a vault. And in order to understand how some of these other pieces fit together, we really need to take a look at this particular dynamic. This is the basics of the raw star dynamic, as was given to me by my Thothic streaming many years ago. It's called the raw star vault, which is composed of 7 octaves, culminating in the perfect harmonic of the 8th sphere. The vault of what we are calling the raw star dynamic feeds into the earth through 11 spinor field nomes, N-O-M-E-S, composed of tetranomes, with a 12th acting as a flashpoint, transforming its entire field into a new set of 11/12 nomes, and so on into an infinite number. Before I proceed, let's address what a spinor field is, because it's saying that the raw star dynamic feeds into the earth through 11 spinor field nomes. From the Thoth definitions, we have a Siegel field, which is a spinor field. It's called both things. A field for an energy system that spins out of a central point. These fields have an axis in constant rotation. They are responsible for holding a dynamic balance between the universe and the anti-universe. The anti-universe is merely the opposite polarity state that balances the whole structure. There are numerous spinor fields created in any given reality system to affect this balance. They keep the universal dynamic by a constant rotation of their axis at the center of the universe's atomic being. As the spinor field spins, as the spinner spins, it creates momentum and a force field of hypergravity. Hypergravity is not like ordinary gravity, although the latter is influenced by it. The hypergravity of a spinor field creates interlinking patterns of receptivity from one system to another, forming an ever-expanding schematic of cooperative functions. So, back again to the raw star dynamic. So it says, the raw star dynamic feeds into the earth through 11 spinor field nomes, and these are composed of tetranomes. So what is a tetranome? A high metatronic full-light creational field generator. The active modality of the tetranome begins with the Star of David and expands from the center outward at 2 opposite axes to create a Siegel or spinning energy field. Such a field produces a flashing rhombus at its center that exchanges information between universes. In a further stage of this expansion, the tetranome becomes a tetratrion. Tetratrions are hyperspace tetrahedrons with open ends connecting to one another to form dimensional transference zones. It is through the tetratrions that energy travels between different dimensions. The tetranome exchanges information and therefore building blocks of light mathematics. The tetratrion accelerates the whole dynamic to allow manifestational energy to travel from one dimension to another. However, one cannot really separate a tetranome from a tetratrion, as the former is simply a foundational stage of the latter, and the latter can be activated through the geometry of the former. The ascension of this Earth into the new Earth star will be created through tetratrionic activity. The tetratrion is the sought-after God particle. And now from the web, this is a quote about what the God particle is. It's from the Higgs boson, which is a hypothetical particle with zero spin. It is neutral and may be responsible for giving other particles mass. This elementary particle was named after the physicist Peter Higgs, who proposed the theory in 1964. The standard model in particle physics depends on the existence of the Higgs boson. According to the standard model, none of the subatomic particles have mass, so they must obtain it from interacting with the Higgs field. Now that's the end of the quotes. I did not know about this God particle thing when I received from Thoth, about the tetratrions, the tetranomes, and all of that. But later, when I came across it, it seemed to be what Thoth was talking about. I asked him and received a yes on that it is the same thing, although he qualified that they really don't understand what they're talking about. Dare I say that? He's saying it, I'm not. And in regard to, the full implications of this. But yes, it's basically the same thing. And so now we return to the basics of the Ra star, because we've said, let's try to go back a little bit here, that the Ra star dynamic feeds into the Earth through 11 spinor field nomes composed of tetranomes, with a 12th acting as a flashpoint, transforming its entire field into a new set of 11/12 nomes, and so on into an infinite number. The whole nome process running through the 7-octave field is operative within the DNA as well as the greater universe on all levels. It represents the channels or veins within the hyperdrive of the universe, which allows the most basic level of light language communication throughout the universe. There are other greater levels in operations as well. However, it is the basic level that is needing to be addressed here to understand this format and what we're presenting here. The engine of the Ra star dynamic, the 7-octave /8 sphere and 11 nomes /12 flashpoint, are the atomas, which exist in the center of all DNA, cells, organisms, living beings, planets, stars, galaxies, etc. The nome veins spread like cracks on ice when generated by the atomas. When the hyperdrive reaches critical absorption in the system in which it is chain reacting, the skater falls through the ice, i.e., the flashpoint occurs, creating a blue hole. A blue hole differs from a black hole in that the former is responsive to specific conscious control, whereas a black hole is not. A blue hole also contains large hyper-electrical charges of first matter fire, whereas a black hole consumes all energy. Once the skater is plummeted through the blue hole, he is then thrown into the water, a new plane of experience. This process is duplicated again and again, but each time the blue hole is achieved more and more rapidly until it moves beyond space-time. Relative to the Ra star dynamic, I'm calling this movement, or Thoth is calling this movement, or change, into beyond space-time. He's calling it theta. Once the light language moves through the nome hyperspace veins, reaching flashpoint, the blue hole opens up, swallowing the light, and the language then moves into theta and communes with all systems in the universe. Okay, I know you're going, what did she say? I understand. But this is how it is, and I'm just trying to share this with you. So, just let it kind of flow through your space. Don't try to understand every little word. But it is a system that uses critical non-mass, not critical mass, but critical non-mass, to create a chain reaction of hyperelectrical charges of first matter fire. This is beyond the matter realm as we understand it, but yet it does incorporate some of the same quantum experiences that are observable in our science. At least it is nowadays. I don't know if it was when I wrote this. To conclude with the Ra star, Thoth gives names for the 7 octaves, and he's chosen this from an ancient High Mayan star cosmology. Now, High Mayan is Thoth's term for the Pleiadian aspect of the Mayans. The Pleiadians who mixed with the early beings that became Mayans, and there was a High Mayan grouping of souls that existed in the early stages of this. There were highly involved Pleiadian Mayan energies. They left at some point and the Mayans started to digress. But we're speaking of a High Mayan star cosmology here. So he's giving these 7 and then the 8th. And I have been guided by Thoth to create images that go along with these, and they have codes in them. So as you're watching this, just let yourself receive these energies, these codes of the 8. Zumal, Heartstone. Chikopal, Mirror. Tiranak, Dwelling Light. Abzim, 7 stars, Pleiades. Sokum, World Mountain or Middle Foundation. Chaktum, Morning Flower or Unfolding Flower. Raza, Life Giver or Altar Fire. The 8th sphere, this is the divine harmonic of the 7. According to the High Mayan cosmology above, the 8th sphere is Kal, the fullness. So this concludes the Ra star dynamic. We now proceed to the royal point of the Earth, that's R-O-I-L. This is a Thothian terminology to describe the place on the planet where energy streams upward from the central sun Atoma. Now that's the sun in the sacred hollow of the Earth, or any planet that is a viable, ensouled planetary being. Richard Hoagland writes about this phenomena in his book, The Monuments of Mars, and I'm quoting from Richard from this book. The largest updwelling energy events on a wide variety of moons and planets seems to occur preferentially at either 19.5 degrees north or south, or in slowly rotating bodies such as the Sun on both key latitudes. This appears to be a heretofore unrecognized tetrahedral pattern whose underlying physics seems to involve the hyperdimensional connection of these rotating 3-space objects to a higher level state space. End of quotes. According to Hoagland, the monuments of Mars, inclusive of the magnetic face, are at the 19.5 updwelling of that planet at one of its tetrahedral angles, with the largest dormant volcano in the solar system at the apex of the other angle. On Earth, the two tetra angles of this royal point fall at the Mauna Loa volcano of Hawaii and the Giza complex of the Great Pyramid in Egypt, respectively. Now, for my insights from the Thothic record, Haleakala on Maui, next door to the Big Island, is one of the most powerful energy points on the planet, probably only second to Mauna Loa on the Big Island. Its impressive magnetic field holds the presence of the planet's entire magnetic field. It is these two powerful mountains, Haleakala and Mauna Loa, with the smaller active volcano Kilauea next to Mauna Loa as part of the latter's energy field, that compose the engine supplying the Earth with mother matrix for all its energy grids. This engine is turned on by the central sun atoma of the planet. Now, the opposite side, with the Giza Plateau, it holds a sort of an opposite charge. It's holding a stability field. And this is very interesting because of the function that Thoth states in regard to the Pyramid of Giza and its whole plateau. That's a bigger topic. I'm not really including that in this discourse because I have enough already, but it is the release node. The Great Pyramid of Giza, with its components, will be the release node for the moment when the flashpoint of LP40 shifts us from a World System 1 to a World System 2. It's literally the booster rocket because it's not going. It's not part of the light codes that will be brought with us into the next realm, as many other parts are. It's literally a booster rocket. We're speaking about now the Giza Plateau, specifically the Great Pyramid. So it's so fitting that it would be on the opposite side of this royal point that is exiting and forming this engine for the whole dynamic that triggers that flashpoint, or at least involves the triggering here on Earth. There are other components cosmically speaking. Now, Mount Waialeale on Kauai is the portal of the Phi Gate. We're going to get to that in a moment, which is a key dynamic of the fire gem matrix in direct synergy with the royal point. Back to the royal point, let us take a look at these dynamics as Thoth presented them to me. The charge is drawn like water from a well from the center of the planet's atoma. One might understand it better by seeing a rolled tube. Inside the tube is the blueprint containing all the light codes of the energy systems within it. It was suggested by Thoth that we call this tube blueprint the Hagia. When the Hagia tube spins out of the royal point in a continuous action, it unfurls to reveal a helix of these codes. From the light codes, the energy systems of the blueprint can be accessed. The systems themselves are activated by cosmic and planetary events. The Hagia actually is a DNA mother helix as it feeds the DNA of its creation, Earth, with the light programs of evolution. Closed, the Hagia is in a rest and generative state, the Anatta. Open, in the state of Aini, it is ready to send and receive. As it moves out of the royal point, the Hagia becomes a spinner field. This particular spinner opens to allow various earth balances to take place. New information is received and interior codes are released, like pollen on the wind. The royal point of the planet is located on the outer skin of the Earth at the Hawaiian Islands. Its field encompasses the entire island chain, but its center point is the volcano Mauna Loa on the Big Island. This is where the engine of the royal point is most active on the surface of the planet, and the Hagia is released. However, it is through the crater of Haleakala on Maui that the Hagia is accessed by cosmic, earth, and living systems. It is this access or touch point that keeps us, Earth's living systems in alignment with the core living being of Gaia. Haleakala is the largest dormant volcano in the world, its summit being 10,023 feet in altitude. According to Ellie and William Crow, in their book Exploring Lost Hawaii, it is the strongest natural power point in America. There is and I quote from this book now, there is an energy configuration coming from the Earth and a high focus of radiation coming from outside the atmosphere. The volcano of Haleakala sits like a mighty pyramid in the Pacific. According to Mike Townsend, park ranger and naturalist, the huge iron-rich cinder cone called Magnetic Peak has a magnetic field strong enough to deflect a compass needle. The cinder cones within are volcanic vents that may form electromagnetic lines from the center of the Earth. That's the end of quotes. Now I continue. Haleakala is one of the most powerful energy points on the planet, probably only second to Mauna Loa on the Big Island. Its impressive magnetic field holds the presence of the planet's entire magnetic field. In these two powerful mountains, Haleakala and Mauna Loa, with the smaller active volcano Kilauea next to Mauna Loa as part of the latter's energy field that compose the engine, supplying the Earth with mother matrix for all its energy grids. The engine is turned on by the central sun atoma of the planet as it moves the Hagia tube upward to the surface of the planet. Now, I would like you to just think about the fact that we're having this One World Legion grab for the islands now, for the Hawaiian Islands, starting with the terrible tragedy that was not an act of God on Maui. All of this revolves around the owl taking control, so they think, of this incredible power field. Now, I know there are other things involved on the surface, like, land grabs and things of that nature, but those are all surface things that have been stirred. The pot has been stirred by the owl so that the greedy and the money hungry will be their servants, do their bidding, because it serves them. But the inner reason, the real down-to-earth reason, the nitty-gritty of what is going on here is not a power grab of land, but a power grab of energy, of this incredible power point on the planet. Of course, this is like trying to, box lightning, because it ain't going to work, but they think it is. And that's what's important to them. So, to continue. The fire gem is really encompassing all of the Hawaiian grids, lines, dynamics. So when Thoth refers to the fire gem, he's talking about the whole thing. The maiden grid, which is within the fire gem, is a grid formation coming out of the royal point, a birthing matrix for new planetary potential, allowing the divine feminine presence in the universe to come into a greater harmonic with the current state of the planet. And this message I received from Pentagra of the Merkaba of the Host. It was a Christmas New Year's message for 2004. And it states, toward the end of 2004 and into the first months of 2005, a new light grid will form around the royal point of the planet. This is the point where energy streams upward as a core beam from the solar atoma at the center of the Earth. This new light grid we call the maiden, for it resonates as a divine feminine virgin child coming out of the mother's flow at Mauna Loa and Kilauea. The maiden will gently turn in the deep, and the dolphins and sea turtles will follow new paths in the ocean. At this time, I really don't have more on the maiden grid. I probably would like to do a whole different video just on that at some point, provided I receive more information. But I will say that because it embraces the feminine element and it's streaming right out of the core of the planet, it is touching a lot of different aspects of the whole planetary schematic. And remember, it's a new grid. 2004 seems like a long time ago, but it really isn't. And so it's relatively new, and it's still developing on the planet. And when Thoth, or rather this Pantagra entity, which Thoth was allowing to speak to me, by allowing, I mean he has a protective envelope about who comes and goes, and I want it that way. He was not just being poetic. He was saying that there are streaming frequencies that allow dolphins, sea turtles, whales, whatever, to follow these frequency patterns. And these would be changing to some degree. And they would follow new patterns in the field, in the ocean, because the field would be changing. And not just in the ocean, on the land and in the air as well. Now we proceed to the Phi Gate. The Phi Gate is the entry point into the planet for the New Earth hologram. This gate comes through the star capstone directly into the crown chakra of Hawaii, which is in the island of Kauai, and down into the royal point of the planet. All of the Hawaiian Islands, with the center being Mauna Loa and the Big Island. So the royal point, the actual node for that, is Mauna Loa. But Kauai carries the Phi Gate. And the Phi Gate is the entry point into the planet for the New Earth hologram. Now that is the hologram that presents us with the field of the New Earth before we get there. That is where the pyramidus radius is being created, and all the pre-structures that allow us to move into a synchronicity of sorts, a synergy of sorts with the New Earth before we arrive there, so that we can prepare for this. So the New Earth hologram is the hologram that presents us with this field. Now the Phi Gate comes through the star capstone. Okay, let's take a look at the star capstone. That's a whole large article. I'm not going to read it all. However, I'm going to read you this little part of it. In the stone structure of the Temple of the Risen One, that is the Great Pyramid of Giza, are meridians which carry rays or impulses of consciousness. These meridians we will call star paths, for the ancients called them the shadow halls of the stars. They knew from even more distant legend that the Star Lords had placed long shadows of the cosmic beings, stars, across the Temple of the Risen One. These shadows had opened halls or paths in the stone for the soul to travel. The star paths, then, are consciousness streams programmed by superintelligence into the stone of the Great Pyramid. They are not the air shafts, which serve other purposes, but invisible highways of light intelligence crisscrossing deep within the stone. And so, there's a whole article on this, but that's really all you need to know at the moment about that. So returning to the Phi Gate, this gate comes through the star capstone directly and into the crown chakra of Hawaii, which is the island of Kauai. Now, let me make sure you understand this. What he's speaking about when he says crown chakra, he's speaking about the Hawaiian chain. What is the crown chakra of the Hawaiian chain? Not the Ascension Temple, not the inner, not the earth, not this, not that, but just the Hawaiian chain. In that respect, its crown chakra is the island of Kauai, and down into the royal point of the planet. Through the Phi Gate, the true Phi geometry is organized into the new hologram, which is infusing and growing the maiden grid. Once the maiden grid is completed, sometime between March 23rd and April 5th of 2005, so obviously that's been long completed, she, the grid, will give birth to the new hologram Phi geometry out into the whole Earth dynamic. All Earth and temple grids will be in receipt of this new Earth program of light. The center point of the Phi Gate is now forming On the mountain of Waialiali, meaning rippling waters, it is the font of 7 rivers, and this is on Kauai. As the 5 geometries of the New Earth hologram stream through this node, there will be those who are drawn to this island to work specifically with the forming and integrating of the New Earth 5, and some to actually embody these geometries as an access point for all Earth's humanity. But this is only the beginning. One need not come to Kauai or Hawaii in general to embody these codes for the ascension body. It is the starting point, progressing outward through the entire planetary body. There will be those who begin this process, and they will come to the font to receive the first offerings there from the rippling waters of Waialiali. Now, as a footnote, I was living on Kauai at the time, and I was working with these energies directly and intimately, and I've now carried them back to Crestone, which is the crown chakra of the ascension grid, another subject we'll be covering in this series. And from the standpoint of the ascension grid, the Hawaiian Islands, specifically the Big Island, as the nodal point, is the base chakra of the ascension grid. But that's another topic we'll go to in another part of this series. To continue, each of the Hawaiian Islands will play a major and dynamic role in the integrating and assimilating of the New Earth Phi for the planet, as it gestates within the maiden grid, which is now also in a process of formation. Well, it's already formed, but all these grids have evolution involved in them. Now is the time when the seals are coming off the ancient scrolls, as with the release of the Opa symbols on the date of the Venus transit 2004 upon the summit of Haleakala, Maui. Now, the Opa symbols, I have a video on that. I'll try to remember to put a link to that in the information box below. Be prepared to experience seals, S-E-A-L-S, in your own Akashic vaults to be lifted. The sense of individuation in the human experience is shifting. It will shake and quiver, bursting forth like a geyser from the earth. Be ready, be aware, stay present with the moment. Now, this may have been delivered to me in 2004, but it's even more important now in 2023. While on the subject of the Phi Gate, we need to talk about what Thoth is calling the matrix angels. The matrix angels are a specific type of angelic being who contain within their multiple energy forms the crystalline geometries of the Phi Gate cosmic portals. The matrix are holographic seed responders, meaning that their energy bodies are interfaced with the major points called, by Thoth in this context, Thothic nodes, in the webbing of the universal matrices, which nest within the other and thus are all part of one supramatrix. Interfacing in this way, divine streaming from source pours through their heart or highly developed chakra pool correlative to the human heart, bringing together multiple radials of star streaming into their being and through them into and through the Phi Gates. The matrix then being holographic fields responding to seeds of light programs already left in place within the planet by the Elohim or creator lords. The matrix sends into those seeds the germinating light intelligence for the regenesis of that specific planet. So the matrix angels contain within their forms the Phi crystalline codes. Crystalline, etheric, geometric living essences streaming from the matrix beings as these angelic ones set the stage on Earth for the receipt of the New Earth hologram. These essences are the ambrosia of the cosmos that are already here in our planet and our DNA within the building blocks of our energy creation. However, the matrix bring us to new forms of these crystalline geometries to take us to the next level of our evolution. The codes are the programs. The geometries are their execution into light forms. So I just couldn't resist asking Thoth at this time if the 5 crystalline geometries that are already in our bodies are the same thing as the lotus loci, because these are crystalline geometries as well. And he says that they are. There's a difference in the sense that the phi part, this is a dynamic. It's a crystalline dynamic, but that it is infused into the lotus loci. So they're not quite the same, but they are merged together in their dynamic function. We conclude part 1 of this series. Part 2 will address the Temple Amar, a formidable matrix that used to be the top matrix, the most advanced on the planet, until the Pyramidus Radius. And now the Pyramidus Radius envelops the Temple Amar, as it does all these systems at this time. But the Temple Amar is still very much active, and we're going to speak about it in part 2 of this series.